From brilliant solutions solving the problem of a missing actor, to on-set injuries being masked by subtly masterful camera work, these are just a few of the Star Wars scenes that were secretly deceiving you. Gareth here from What Culture Star Wars, and here are 10 Star Wars scenes you didn't realize were tricking you. Number 10. Adam Driver recorded his last few lines in his closet. The Rise of Skywalker. It's not exactly a secret at this point that a great many changes were made to J.J. Abrams' The Rise of Skywalker flick over the course of the 9th and final Skywalker Saga entry's creation. What you may not have been aware of, though, is the fact that some of the final lines ever rewritten before being let loose by none other than Kylo Ren himself, Adam Driver, weren't actually uttered on one of the film's sets or in front of any camera at all. In fact, according to the movie's sound editor Matthew Wood, Driver was tasked with recording his last lines as a masked Ren within the comfort of his own Brooklyn home. But with the actor not exactly coming equipped with his own state-of-the-art ADR booth, Wood would confess, "I went to Driver's house in Brooklyn. I ended up opening up one of his closets where he had all of his suits, and I just pushed the suits out of the way and said, 'Hang your head in here.'" The glamour of filmmaking, eh? Number 9. Mark Hamill's injury was hidden in the trash compactor. A New Hope. The sequence depicting Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Chewbacca, and Princess Leia all attempting to survive being slowly crushed to death within a trash compactor was actually subtly disguising a rather hilarious blunder as it goes. In a bid to make himself authentically look as though he'd just survived being strangled by the creature within the Death Star's trash pit, Mark Hamill actually intentionally made himself red-faced during the shooting of the scene. However, being the committed soul fans knew him to be, Hamill went a little too far and actually ended up bursting a blood vessel in his eye. Knowing they couldn't afford to pause the shoot though, Lucas instead had his crew carefully shoot around Hamill's cock-up until it had healed. So that's why Hamill is largely shot from only one side of his person during this intense turn of events. Number 8. Han Solo's HOTH jacket was actually brown all along. The Empire Strikes Back. For the longest time, many a Star Wars fanatic had blissfully assumed that the furry jacket sported by everyone's favourite smuggler on the freezing cold planet of Hoth was obviously of the blue variety. Hell, even Hasbro went out of their way to unleash a toy that depicted Han Solo decked out in a coat of this colour back in the day. With that being said though, there was still large portions of the fanbase who were adamant that Harrison Ford's wisecracking personality was actually kitted out in a brown parka during these frosty scenes. Well, after years of debate, the truth was finally uncovered during a Discoveries from Inside Costumes Revealed featurette for Attack of the Clones digital HD release. According to said behind-the-scenes footage, the jacket was shown off in all its very much brown glory in the costume department, with not a single glimmer of blue in sight. Number 7. Peter Cushing was cruel but rarely uncomfortable. A New Hope. It may actually come as a bit of a surprise to hear that the legendary Peter Cushing was actually storming around the Death Star in a pair of carpet slippers for the majority of his time on set. With the Grand Moff Tarkin icon boasting some rather large feet, the actor would later reveal in a rather old interview that they hadn't got time to have my boots made for me. Then after strutting around in a pair of stock shoes, the agony Cushing felt led to the thespian requesting for Lucas to shoot him from the waist up for the rest of his time on screen. From that point on, Cushing was slipped into some anything but intimidating carpet slippers for everything from his destroying of Princess Leia's precious Alderaan to his many exchanges with the menacing Darth Vader, a fact that will likely change the way you look at this unsettling portrayal in A New Hope forever. Number 6. Porgs were actually a way of disguising a problem, The Last Jedi. Whether you love them or loathe them, there's still little arguing with the fact that The Last Jedi's Porgs definitely stole more than their fair share of headlines in the lead up and in the wake of Episode 8's release. Yet the Acto natives weren't actually part of Rian Johnson's original Star Wars plan out of the gates, with creature concept designer Jake Lunt Davis eventually informing StarWars.com that their inception was brought about thanks to a real-life stumbling block. With the location of Skellig Michael used for Acto being home to hundreds of puffins that couldn't be physically removed from the wildlife preserve, the director thought of a genius way of disguising the fact his set had been overrun by the feathered creatures. As Davis would explain, you can't remove them, you physically can't get rid of them, and digitally removing them is an issue and a lot of work. So let's just roll with it, play with it. And so I think he thought, well that's great, let's have our own indigenous species. So there's a good chance that whenever you spot a Porg on Acto, there's likely a real-life puffin hiding underneath it, wondering what all these cameras and Jedi were doing in the back garden. Number 5. 3 Wookiees came from one suit, The Phantom Menace. The Galactic Senate chamber held within the Senate Rotunda saw a number of surprising races make an unexpected cameo over the years, and among the likes of E.T.'s Asojin species popping up in the chamber in The Phantom Menace, fans were quick to spot Chewbacca's beloved race of furry warriors by the name of the Wookiees. However, what wasn't as easily spotted was the fact that this was actually just one actor dumped into a single Wookiee suit. Said performer then executed 3 different variations of the scene, and the costume's hair was slightly adjusted each time to fool audiences into believing a number of furry extras had been brought in for the shoot. Also, instead of creating a brand new Wookiee costume from scratch for this fleeting cameo, Chewbacca's costume from the original trilogy was dusted off for the sequence, with creature effects supervisor Nick Dubman later noting, "When the shots were put together, we ended up with 3 different Wookiees out of one suit." Number 4, Christopher Lee used a double during most of his fight, Revenge of the Sith. Despite coming in at the ripe old age of 79 around the time of Attack of the Clones shoot, that still couldn't stop the unstoppable Christopher Lee from getting in on some of the sword-fighting action when it came to his climactic showdown with Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Yoda. Away from the close-up beats that saw Lee's Count Dooku very much swinging his lightsaber at the likes of Ewan McGregor and co, though, Episode 2 also relied on a stunt double for some of the more impressive maneuvers seen in the wider shots of the duels. Then, said performer's face was ultimately digitally replaced with Lee's in post-production. With Lee racking up a few more years in the lead up to shooting on the follow-up, this digital replacement technique was once again utilized as a way of convincing audiences they were actually seeing the proficient swordsman strut his curved lightsaber stuff. Number 3, Carrie Fisher's hair and clothes were digitally altered, The Rise of Skywalker. News of Carrie Fisher's tragic passing in late 2016 cast understandable doubts over the future of her equally beloved character of Leia Organa in a sequel trilogy that was well underway at that point. Refusing to simply have the character be dispatched off-screen though, J.J. Abrams instead opted to recycle footage he'd already shot of the unmistakable princess during The Force Awakens for the Force-sensitive figure's emotional last showing in the series. Along with this utilizing of old Fisher material, the whizzes at ILM were able to combine the live-action shots of Fisher's face with a completely digital character. This ultimately aided the team in giving Leia a look that was completely distinct to Episode 9, adding a little extra grey into her latest legendary hairstyle, and a whole new costume in post-production in their bid to stave off the weird visual of her appearing exactly as she did in Episodes 7 and 8. And it is a testament to ILM's remarkable work that next to no one realized said icon's final hairstyle and outfit of choice were entirely computer-generated. Number 2, matte paintings enhance an empire, The Empire Strikes Back. While the likes of Disney Plus's The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, and Obi-Wan Kenobi were all afforded the luxury of the state-of-the-art LED volume when it came time to add some cinematic depth to many a space-age scene in recent times, the folks behind the first few flickers of this galaxy far, far away had to think outside the box. Seen in the elegant horizon of Bespin's Cloud City, and within an Imperial hangar boasting an embarrassment of Stormtrooper riches, utterly mesmerizing matte paintings were often used to fool fans into believing they were witnessing a larger-than-life set being captured on film, brilliantly lacing the feature players and moving spacecraft into the scenario in post-production. The fact some of the most impressive locations ever committed to the Skywalker saga were handcrafted by any mortal, though admittedly freakishly talented human, still needs to be seen to be believed. Number 1, Pedro Pascal didn't physically appear in one episode, The Mandalorian. It may have been a little bit disheartening to realize that his big break in the Star Wars universe would largely be playing out underneath a clunky Beskar helmet, but the reality of Pedro Pascal being hidden for much of his time in the Din Djarin saddle did actually come in rather handy when he suddenly found himself unable to rock up on set due to some prior commitments. As revealed by The Mandalorian Chapter 4 director Bryce Dallas Howard to Vulture, the star of the show wasn't available to shoot on her Sanctuary episode due to the fact he was in rehearsals for King Lear on Broadway, as you do. This had next to no impact on the shoot itself, mind, with Mando stunt doubles Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder both pitching in to bring the titular Mandalorian to life over the course of the series. Wayne was able to easily embody the presence throughout Chapter 4, while Pascal would also add his dialogue into the mix later down the line. Simply put, and as Howard herself would summarize, this mysterious Mandalorian is a real collaboration. And that is our list. Know of any other Star Wars scenes that fans didn't realize were tricking them? Let us know all about them in the comments section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button while you're at it. I've been Gareth from What Culture Star Wars. May the Force be with you as always, but in the meantime, be good to yourself. Bye bye.